Hey Beaks, some of you are still having some trouble with graphing and manipulating PDFs, so I figured I'd make another video. So hopefully this one kind of helps you with your Canvas submissions, alright, as we go. So if you're not an AP, this is what my AP kids were up to last night. They had to go ahead and graph some data and then add it to a PDF file. So they were doing a transpiration lab. So let's take a look at the data here, and you can see that somebody's still working on it here. That's good. It's after midnight. They should be asleep. But here's some apiary data. So what we did was we looked at transpiration rates over time, and we had a time of 30 minutes here. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this time. Okay, I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go to a new spreadsheet. Keep everything nice. And I'm going to go ahead and add this right here. Now I'm going to go to paste special. Okay, and I'm just going to paste values. I don't want all the colors and all that stuff that drives me crazy. And then I'll go ahead and name it over here. So we just did time, and we measured it in minutes, right? We did every 3 minutes for a half an hour. All right, we started at time 0. Okay, and then for part 1 of our experiment, we have our class average transpiration rates. Now this was just in the classroom, no changing of environmental conditions or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that and copy it. And I'm going to go over here and I'll put that right under time. Now actually, I'm going to go to paste values again. I know that the time is automatically going to be set up as my x-axis, my horizontal, by putting it up there. Okay, and you could do this vertically as well. It just so happens that for this lab I set up the data sheet to be horizontal, which is probably not the better way to do it. But anyway, maybe I'll change this one to like class average room condition, which is our control basically, right, for part 2. Alright, so I could just graph that, and that would be the class average data for part 1. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go now to part 2. Okay, so in part 2 here you can see, alright, we have the light. So I'm going to go ahead and copy those averages. I'm going to throw them in here. And Google Sheets is pretty smart how it does this. So I'm going to go to paste special again, just do the values and class average light. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy the other 2. And you could do these all at once, I think, with like holding down shift or control or whatever, but I always have trouble when I do that, so I just do it one at a time here. And finally we're going to go ahead and get our wind average. And if I'm just looking at this data table, it's good, like I can tell what's going on, but it's much easier to do it in a graph. So that's why we graph our data. I'm just going to do values there. Okay, so now I have all my data set up, and you can see that some of these numbers there, the room condition, I don't know why exactly we did it this way. I guess with our calculations it was a little goofy. But those are bigger numbers, and you could change that and make them go down to the hundredths or whatever you want, but this is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight all this data, and then I go to insert, and we'll go to chart, and it should automatically make a line graph for me. Yep. So that already is looking pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with that, right? Because now I can see, well, let's see here. Oh yeah, the light transpired at a much faster rate than did the wind. And the wind was above the control, just basically in the room. And then when we had high humidity, oof, transpiration rate was the lowest, right? Now I don't like this title, and you could do it in a couple different ways here to change things. I can either click the title and just change it right on it, or over here in Chart Editor, you see here one of the options they have is Chart and Axis titles, so you can go there and just do it right here too. Okay, so whatever you want to do. So what would be a good title here? Maybe like, delete all of this. Transpiration rates under varying environmental conditions, maybe? I think that sounds good. Okay. So now we have a new title. Oh, I see we don't have our x-axis is fine, time in minutes. We have our units there in a good title. And you can make these bigger and smaller and all that kind of stuff too. See over here your font size and make it bold or whatever. Okay, so you can change up this stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and make our vertical axis, our y-axis. We need the title for that. And you can see I was playing with this earlier, so I'm just going to add that in right there. Okay, so we have our water loss, milliliters per meter squared. Okay, I don't love where this is, the legend right here. Maybe I want it to the side, so if you go over here again, let's get rid of that one and go down here to legend. And now position, wherever, I'll throw it to the right. And maybe I don't love that either. Maybe I look at that and I'm just like, well, it's a little like wordy, right? So sure, you can click on each individual one and you can get rid of the word class average. Maybe when you're reading through the lab or the report, it'll be clear what you're looking at there, right? So maybe we'll get rid of all the class averages. And you could do it over here as well, right, as you manipulate it. So either way. Okay, so that's looking a little bit better, I'd say. And now our graph is really, whoops, getting pretty nice to look at. Now we can look at that and see what's going on here. And hey, you don't like these colors? Sure, change them up. Right, so for example, let's see, room condition. Right, you can go over here and change the themes and the colors and things like that. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and I'll just click light. Okay, so here's light. And you can see that the color is red right now. Sure, we can keep it red. You can change it to whatever color. Okay, maybe I like this purple or something like that. I don't know. And what you can do is you can actually go in there and do some work. Now, we talked about error bars earlier this year in AP Bio. Okay, trend line, some of you were adding that for this lab. You don't have to do that, but for the leaves you did, but not necessarily for your transpiration data. But for the data labels, sure. Hey, look at that. That's pretty cool. And you can go in there and do that for all of them. And you can go in and you could change the shape. Like maybe you want every data point to have a little diamond or a triangle or whatever. And you could do that for every single line if you wanted to, right? And manipulate all of them and change them up. Make it look pretty nice. Okay, and you can make everything look bigger, smaller, easier to read, whatever. So that's that. Okay, we now have our graph from our data, and this was the class averages of the 4 different things that we did. The room, the control basically, and then the environmental changes that we made. Okay, so now it's time to add this to our file. So we have a file that we had to work on here. So I opened it up, and if you don't know how to do that, actually let me close out of this and re-show you that. So I'm going to open up Kami, or Kami, however you say it. And where is this file at? Now, if you downloaded it from Canvas, okay, or depending where you're opening it from, I have it saved on my computer. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the file from my computer. And I already know it's under the AP Biotranspiration Lab. And we call this, under distance learning, we call this the Transpiration Lab Wrap-Up, is what you guys were working on. Okay, and it's always password protected. So there we go. Now we have the PDF open that we can manipulate. The problem is I don't know how. Like what I just did basically was do this very last graph here. Okay, but how do I add the graph into here? Well, here's how I do it. Now you guys might be way better at this stuff than I am, but the way that I do, I just take a screenshot of it. Okay, or I use something called the snipping tool. Okay, so if I just search snip, here we go. So I'm going to make a new snip. All right, and what you can do is just you move this little cursor around, this little crosshairs, wherever you want on your screen, and you can actually click and drag. So I'm going to go ahead and make a snip right here. There's my graph, and now I can save it. So let's save it as, and I think I already have transpiration graph. Yep, so let's overwrite that. Sure. And now I have this picture saved. Okay. And now what you can do is, let's close that. We'll go back to here. Now here's our PDF that we want to manipulate, okay, using Kami. So what you do is over here, you look for image. Let's go ahead and insert an image. Now am I getting it from Google Drive or a search or no, it's on my computer. I just saved it. So I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm going to search that Transpiration Lab graph that I just made. I'm going to open that up and there it is. You can move it around, right? So I'll put that right there. And I'll make it look a little better. And oh my goodness, Mr. Boylan is going to be so thrilled. Look at how nice that looks. Right? There you go. And by the way, and this goes again for Bio 1, because I see a lot of you struggling to put every little word in the right line here. So my AP kids had to answer some questions or put in equations and things like that. So right here, maybe they just put in the answer. Right? But if you wanted to calculate and you wanted to write out your equation, you could simply do that on a piece of paper and then just take a picture and add it here, right? You don't have to find a way to make everything look perfect using the text box. And same thing over here. Like, what if you're answering, okay, what is water potential, or explain water potential? You can go like this too, okay? You just add a text box. So just click where you want to start writing, and you can say water potential is so we don't know. And that's okay. We'll figure it out. But blah, 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 blah. And you can keep going and going, but look at how terrible this looks, right? I'm on all these random lines now, and I'm all over the place. You know what you could do, though? You just go right up here, and you fill it with white. And look how nice that looks now. Right? And you could extend this. Okay, and now, wow, look at that. It looks like you actually have a beautiful answer here for what is water potential. Okay, and when you're all done answering your questions that way and putting in all your pictures and things like that, all you have to do is hit save. And now, where do you want it saved? Do you want to upload it to your Google Drive if you're signed into, your Google? There's other things you could do too. I'm going to go ahead and download mine. Now it's processing. It'll take a little while, especially depending on how many changes to the PDF you made. And now you have an actual file here. So I'm going to go ahead and open this. And if you notice, this file saved to my downloads, right? Kami Export or Kami Export, whatever it is. And if you look here, hey, this looks pretty nice. See that? So this is an actual PDF now of my PDF with your answers added to it. And let's take a look at our graph here. Hey, look at that. Not bad. Okay. So when it comes to manipulating these PDFs, I see a lot of you having some trouble and trying to make it look just right. First of all, I don't really care what it looks like, to be honest with you. But, you know, I care about what your answers are. But the second thing is, yeah, there's ways to make it easy and quick, and you don't have to spend, you know, all that time doing it. So hopefully that was pretty helpful. And good luck manipulating your Kami drives and making your graphs.